Picture this, an urban area, apartment buildings, family homes, a large shopping center, roads with traffic rushing by, and smack in the middle of it all, some trees. And when you look at these trees more closely, you'll notice a path between them. It's a little obscured, but it is there. And if you follow this path, you will find a stunningly beautiful place, a green oasis in the middle of the city. It's like a small meadow hidden between the trees, with a farmhouse and some animals roaming about. It's a pet farm, actually. And it looks very inviting, but because of the economic crisis, because our municipality has had to cut down on spending, you can't go in. They've closed it down. This is how our story begins, and it's a story about a citizens' initiative to find a way and preserve this beautiful place for its community, and if possible, make it even more beautiful. In Leidschendam-Voorburg, our city, we had 3 pet farms and only enough resources to keep one of them open. And unfortunately, Rusthout had to close down. When they announced its closure, this sent a shock through its community. People were so disappointed, were sad, some angry even. Now you have to realize that Rusthout was one of the few places in our city where you can enjoy a natural environment, and we really wanted to preserve this for its community, not only because of its recreational purpose, but also because of its educational value. Primary schools, for instance, would often organize trips for school children to Rusthout to learn about its animals. And later on, when we started brainstorming about what else you could do at this place, we thought it would be the perfect place for people to learn all about nature, about urban gardening, about crafts. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's first talk about what we did about the fact that they wanted to and actually did close Rusthout down. Now, one of the first things we thought of was we have to make known that we disagree with their decision. So one of the local community members started a petition, collected over 2,000 signatures of people living nearby saying to our municipality, "Hear us! We don't want you to close down Rusthout." Now, unfortunately, this didn't have the reaction that we were hoping for, because instead of changing their mind, they started explaining in even more detail why they had come to the decision and why they couldn't change it. So, we were at a standoff. What could we do now? Well, we formed a group of people and started brainstorming about a solution. And one of the things we did in these brainstorm sessions was analyze what we thought was the primary issue, namely money. And we asked ourselves, how much money does it cost now? Are there ways to save money? Can we perhaps generate money so Rusthout can become self-sufficient? And this is what we found out. Annually, Rusthout costed about 60 to 90,000 euros, and most of it was used to pay for the caretaker. Now, we calculated that if we wouldn't hire anyone, but rely on volunteers instead, we would only need about 5,000 euros. We did have to make a few concessions, though. The larger animals, such as cows or donkeys, they were too expensive because, well, they eat too much. But we could still keep the smaller animals, such as rabbits, guinea pigs, chickens, pygmy goats. So we decided that to minimize costs and to upgrade Rusthout's diversity, we would transform the pet farm to a city garden where fruits and vegetables would be grown and where you could still keep these smaller animals. Also, we wanted to create a natural children's playground and organize workshops for about urban gardening. Why urban gardening, you might ask? Well, because we live in a time where more and more children don't know anymore where their fruits and vegetables come from. So we thought, wouldn't it be great if they could be involved in growing and harvesting those themselves at Rusthout in an urban environment? Now, to be honest, at first, at the beginning, our plans were much wilder than this. We thought about opening a store and selling local products, or What about a child daycare center? But these plans were quickly shut down by the municipality because they didn't comply with regulations. So we adjusted our plans accordingly, but discovered that we still had to learn to speak the language of the municipality, because when we were talking about food services, for instance, they thought we were planning on opening a restaurant, and this wasn't allowed. But what we meant was we wanted to be able to serve some coffee and some tea to our visitors, maybe even a cookie. And this was allowed, especially if you wouldn't charge money for it, but ask for a voluntary donation. So you have to get a little creative with language and with how you organize things. What was quite frustrating for us, though, was that we didn't always feel that we were being taken very seriously as individual citizens, not even as a group of citizens with, if I may say so myself, a great idea. So we had to become something more than a group of citizens. We had to become an organization. And we planned on setting up a foundation, but this cost money. And on top of the 5,000 euros I mentioned earlier, that would still be quite an investment for a small group of people such as ourselves. So we had to be creative again. And this is when the magic happened, and what I would like to call a demonstration of the power of community. We asked ourselves, would those 2,000 people who signed our petition also be willing to make a small or maybe even a big donation? And could we find enough volunteers to take care of the animals on a daily basis and to be able to open the city garden to the public on a regular basis? Well, there's of course only one way to find out. That's by asking them. Here we stumbled upon a minor problem, namely that we had their signatures, but we didn't have their addresses. So what we did is we made a flyer, and we found a printer who would print our flyers for free. And we personally delivered about 5,000 of those flyers to citizens living nearby. And the result was heartwarming. Not only did we get the 5,000 euros we needed, we got a list of volunteers. We got a lot of people who offered their services for free to help us realize our plans. And in our combined circle of acquaintances, we found a notary who helped us set up the foundation at no cost. We found a gardening center who donated plants. We even found an architect who beautifully portrayed our ideas into drawings of what the city garden could look like. So this made it possible for us to present to the municipality a very professional plan backed by the money needed to realize it. And by now you might be asking, did we succeed? Were we able to convince the municipality that a group of organized citizens would be able to take care of Rusthout? Well, the answer is yes. Yes, the answer is yes. On the 1st of April, we were handed the key, and on the 1st of May, we opened our doors to the public. So that means that we've only been open for about 4 months, but already we've had a lot of really enthusiastic comments from our visitors. And the best comment yet, that it's never looked as beautiful as it does now. Now, I would like to leave you with this. When I read the theme of today's TEDx, Let's Tango, I thought this was just such an accurate description of what we've been doing with the municipality, Tango. Also, if you've seen the movie Scent of a Woman, you might be familiar with the following quote. No mistakes in the tango, darling. If you get all tangled up, you just tango on. Now, some creativity and ingenuity might be needed to do so, but I believe that if this is your point of view, you'll always be able to find a way, like we did. Thank you.